Hi, hey, hello! Welcome to the Music Minutes from Musicplay podcast, the music education podcast dedicated to helping classroom and general music teachers. I'm your host, Carrie Lynn, and today we have a topic that is affecting more and more classrooms and is something that every teacher should be prepared for. We're focusing in on kindergarten students who are on the autism spectrum, and we want to make sure that your classroom is ready for them so they too can enjoy the music classroom in a safe and caring way. We'll be talking about sensory overload, working with fixations, and setting up a routine for success. Now, this topic first came to us through our ever-wonderful Facebook Musicplay Teachers community. Our community member, Terry, had this to ask of everyone. I have a kindergarten student who is on the autism spectrum and is having difficulty in music. The noise seems to create a lot of stress for them, causing them to act out. I succeeded in getting them to come in and stay in the music room today for the 20-minute class by inviting him to play a game with us. When he became agitated, I switched our activity/song from Old MacDonald to Warm Kitty and The Old Grey Cat is Sleeping. Singing calmly and quietly seemed to help, and they even sat down and petted their kitty for a few seconds. We are making progress, but I have no idea how I'm going to keep a group of 19 kindergarten students engaged and learning basic music concepts. Think loud, quiet, and fast, slow. If I can only use slow and quiet songs. This group is so ready to be playing simple percussion instruments already, but we are going to have to wait a while for that. I would appreciate any ideas or suggestions that anyone can give. The community had a lot of great responses, and we want to share with you some of the best ways to help prep your classroom for these students. Let's start with sensory overload. First and foremost, the key piece of equipment you'll need are headphones. These are wonderful to have for the students who are prone to either sensory overload or anxiety. They dampen out the outside noise, allowing them to be less overwhelmed so they can better focus on what's happening in class. Carrie says that, I have a number of ASD students, and each one handles music differently. Some sit and zone out, some participate fully, some move a lot but know exactly what's happening, some go through multiple sensory overloads. The best thing I can offer in terms of advice is to get a sensory bucket. Provide noise-canceling headphones, include bumpy items, a weighted object or pillow, and something soft. Those are the most helpful items with my ASD kiddos. Holly shares with us that I have a student like that who is now in grade 6. I got a hug from him last week. It was a very powerful moment for me, as he finds music class very stressful. He spent most of the past 6 years in the hall drawing, reading, and on his iPad. We had signals for him to let me know it was too much noise for him. Talk to the parents and admin to come up with some alternatives, and just wait until you start recorders. Linda advises this. I would try a very structured instrument lesson in the future. In my experience, a child just might be excited enough by the prospect of playing by themselves that they can overcome the distress of the sound. I also found that reading a book was a good quieting activity to help. If the child is really upset, the school behavioral psychologist would get down on the floor by the child. It does get better with talented teachers helping through the years. One child grew up to be a great host of our talent show. Elaine chimed in. I have 2 autistic students in my grade 1-2 split class, and last year I had one in my kindergarten class. This year we have headphones like the ones construction workers use to muffle noise. Any of our students that react negatively to too much noise are welcome to use them. We also have students with anxiety sometimes. Last year in kindergarten, having a designated spot to sit for everyone helped. A sit-fit on the floor, a fuzzy stuffy to pet, or a weighted animal. It depends on the student and what their triggers are and what calms them. Thank you, Carrie, Holly, Linda, and Elaine for the wonderful suggestions. It sounds like having a sensory bucket might be the best tool. Providing noise-canceling headphones, bumpy items, weighted objects, and something soft to cuddle might be exactly what the student needs. Thanks again. Now let's hear what the group had to say about working with fixations. Heather tells us that there may just be an activity or instrument that they've fallen in love with. I am a kindergarten teacher in the morning and teach music in the afternoon, and one of my students on the spectrum fell in love last week when I pulled out my tuba to show the kids. I am a kindergarten teacher in the morning and teach music in the afternoon. One of my students is on the spectrum, and he fell in love last week when I pulled out my tuba to show the kids, and I had the kids march to the beat and sing with it. They generally have a hard time focusing, but once they fixated on the tuba, I had to eventually move it back to the music room because he would try to open the clasps to see it during class. Stacy tells us, "Don't give up. I know it's hard, but let them wander, pace, flap, whatever they need to do. I have a 3rd grade ASD student that wouldn't even come to music before, but has decided to fall in love with the ukulele. I also started to give him a reward for staying in the room. He doesn't like candy, but loves dinosaurs. So, a bag of little plastic dinos does it. He picks one out at the end of every class." Thank you, Heather and Stacy, for those uplifting stories of success. In a previous episode, we talked to Cody Kryl, who is a teacher turned researcher and is diving into music therapy. If you're interested, head over to that episode to hear more. But in that episode, we talked about routine, repetition, and predictable activities. Let's hear what the community had to say. Rose suggests that being clear about what will happen in each lesson will really help with the anxiety. Margot tells us that we talked about spectrum disorder students and strategy yesterday in a grade level meeting. We talked about teaching routine and that the students may not know or understand routine. I vary my early childhood classes, so we quickly move from one activity to another, alternating sitting with movement. I find that my guitar seems to really comfort them. Melody wants to know, are you at all familiar with social stories? These are stories written to help children with autism acclimatize to new situations, cope with stressors, and learn to self-advocate. These stories are always custom created for a specific student in a targeted situation. In the book, Music in the Inclusive Classroom, there is a unit on autism and a section on creating social stories for the music room. With a kindergarten student, they will be largely picture-based. I would suggest that your first one be about coming into the room and taking part in a specified number of activities, and then sitting in the hall with an EA while listening to the class do a louder or more upbeat piece, and then returning to the room for a quiet song at the end of the 20-minute time slot. Thank you, Rose, Margot, and Melody for those tips. It sounds like everyone has a pretty unique way to introduce routine in the classroom. If you're interested in the book that Melody was talking about, Music in the Inclusive Classroom, head over to musicplay.ca to purchase your copy today. Well, Terry greatly appreciated all the suggestions. She has had students with ASD in her music classroom throughout her teaching career and has always found a way for them to be successful, but never one this severe. This kiddo is new to the school with only about a week of class under their belt, so everything is setting them off right now. After a few more classes, she offered the option of starting the class with our kiddie song, but he said he would like to start with Engine Number 9, their typical entry activity. Since they were singing songs about cats again today, I pulled out my large gray stuffed cat, which was magic. He calmed right down and enjoyed himself. In talking with the classroom teacher later, Terry discovered that he loves cats and has even a set of laminated cat pictures in the classroom as a calming aid. Go figure. She will continue to test the waters to learn about what does and what doesn't work for him. His classmates are so patient and understanding. This is why we love teaching music. Thank you everyone for the information and your encouragement. With all these great suggestions, hopefully your ASD student will be successful in music, stay the entire time, and feel more comfortable. Do you have any suggestions of your own, or other stories of what seems to work well in the classroom for you? You can always share your story through the Musicplay Teachers group on Facebook. And if you're enjoying our podcast, don't forget to share it. We are always wanting to share teaching tips and great community stories with other teachers, and the best way we can do it is by sharing it. Thanks for listening and happy singing!